Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to 4Strategy Gaming. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Protoss strategy. In this particular replay, our Protoss player here is Mouse's Mana, and our Terran opponent is Empire Cause. Let's go right into Mana Vision though. So yeah, we're going to be looking at a Protoss strategy. Essentially, what we're looking at is going for an early expansion along with getting robotics. We're going to be opening up with a 2-gate Robo, getting an early expansion. But really the things we're going to be focusing on in this video is recovering from a deficit, and also how to beat Marine Marauder Medevac. I know a lot of Protoss players have trouble with Marine Marauder Medevac. Now, adding on top of that the fact that we're going to lose our expansion here, coming back from while being behind and dealing with a strong unit composition such as the MMM, that's particularly what we're going to be looking at in this game. So yeah, starting things off very simply, 9 Pylon, 12 Gateway. We're going to look at a very standard open. It's going to be 9 Pylon, 12 Gateway, 14 Assimilator, 18 Cybernetics Core. Pretty standard, pretty basic opening for most all Protoss builds. So yeah, like I was saying, like I was mentioning, we're going to be showing how to recover from a deficit, showing how to defend against the Marine Marauder Medevac push. You know, a lot of Protoss players like to expand early against Terran. The reason being that if you can get up your expansion early enough in the game against a Terran opponent, then you're going to have a huge advantage, you know. Protoss is very gas heavy. Most Protoss builds are very gas intensive, so getting up that early expansion, having access to the extra Vespene can be really huge. It can be a really big benefit for you. Alright, so moving into our Terran opponent's base here, doing some scouting, we're going to see specifically what we're looking for is a refinery. We're looking for the fact that the barracks is here. If it wasn't here, we could be seeing a proxy barracks somewhere. And then we're also looking to see if a second refinery comes down. Now realize we can chill out inside of his base basically until that first Marine comes out. So feel free to move your guy around, you know, just take a gander as to exactly what's going on inside of his base. Try to kill some SCVs while you're at it. Back at our base here, like I said, the opening pretty standard. It was 9 Pylon, 12 Gateway, 14 Assimilator, and there is that Cybernetics Core going down at 18 Supply. So like I said, we're going to be opening up with 2-gate Robo and getting a quick expansion. That's essentially what we're looking at. After that point, getting hit from our Terran opponent with a strong Marine Marauder push, and this is something you're going to see a lot of Terran players do. The MM push really early in the game, usually between like the 7 to 9 minute mark is when you'll see a normal push from a Terran opponent, and it can be pretty devastating. It can be really hard for you to deal with it if you've teched up or if you've gone for a fast expansion or anything like that. In particular on this map, it's very hard for you to defend this expansion from a push like that because this choke is so huge. Essentially, you rely on force fields to defend yourself early game against a Terran player going for a Marine Marauder push. And with such a wide opening right here, it's very difficult to protect yourself specifically from that push. Now at this point we obviously don't know what's going on. We saw the very basic opening, something that's going to be an opening for almost all Terran builds. So at this point we're not sure if he has a factory up yet or if he has a second or third barracks. I mean, trying to get your probe in there or trying to get a stalker in there even to check for that, you would like to do, but we can pretty much count on the fact that there are going to be Marines sitting right here preventing us from pushing into his base, so makes it a little difficult. Back at the base here, nothing fancy going on yet. The Robotics Facility coming down right now. We did go ahead and drop that at 30 supply. Also started researching that Warp Gate research at 24 supply. Again, basic opening, very standard stuff. Going to be defending ourselves early game with the Zealot and Sentry. Also, we're going to have that Stalker out fairly shortly. You know, it's not super important as to which order you do this in. You do see a lot of players go Zealot, Stalker, Sentry as opposed to Zealot, Sentry, Stalker. Obviously, there's pros and cons to both. Getting that early Sentry is going to allow you to accumulate energy for more force fields, but having that early Stalker will protect you for something like Reapers. Now, I realize you don't see a lot of Reapers anymore, but it's, you know, realize it's a possibility. A Terran player could still get a Reaper. They're not going to have the upgrade this early in the game, but it's a possibility you could lose some probes. So there's the trade-off. Also, that Stalker is going to do pretty well against a early Marine push. It's going to help you coupled with that Zealot. Having the Xel'Naga Tower, very key, very crucial. In this matchup, early game, you could see a Marine push out, but that's when you would bring your Stalker. If you saw Marauder push out, you'd obviously want to pull that Stalker back at that point, however. So Warp Gate research is up. Robotics Facility just finished. Going to be getting that Observer out. We do want to know what's going on. Like I said, we don't have any idea basically what they're going for yet. We don't know if there's 3 barracks. We don't know if it's a factory or starport. We could be seeing Banshees. Getting that Observer is going to help us defend against that if he was bringing Cloak Banshees. Also, we have a few sentries as well as a stalker. Here's that quick expansion that came down at 46 supply. Also, that second gateway came down a little bit before that at 31 supply. So we have our 2 gates in our Robo. The reason we don't have 3 gates in a Robo is because, again, we're going for this quick expansion. Of course, we do want early game units, so we have been making those. You can see a few sentries here, a couple stalkers and 2 Marines. Now, moving that observer into his base, we see this push coming. Really Marine heavy too with those 2 reactors. So we know right now that there's a strong push coming. No expansion as well. He's pretty much, at this point, we're pretty much confirmed that he's been really pushing. You can see bringing down SCVs as well. He's been really pushing that early game strong push, and you can see right around here we're at about the 7:55 minute mark. So like I said, usually between 7 and 9 minutes is when you're going to see this push. It's when you can expect that push. Very difficult for us to defend. We saw the size of his army. Look at what we have and realize our army is going to be smaller because of this expansion. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have dumped resources, 400 minerals into this expansion. He has been pumping out straight units. We can see, look how strong that push is. It's going to be very hard for us to handle this. It's just too many units coupled with those SCVs in there distracting our fire. Like I said, force field pretty much going to save you. It's what you need. In this particular position, I mean, if you look at the current state right here, obviously we're going to lose this. There's really not much we can do about it. We can bring out our units right here, but they're just going to get devastated by these, especially if he pulls the SCVs in front to help. So the expansion is a loss. This is that point in the game I was talking about. We are behind right now, and even right now a push could be very deadly. You can see how many units he has. It's just too much for us to handle. Force field is basically what we count on. And you may say, how is it possible a Terran player gets such a strong force? Why can't we defend ourselves against it? Again, you have to think of the game in this sense, where if I dump resources into an expansion and my opponent goes straight for an army, they're going to have a stronger army than me. It's just basic logic. That's how it works out. That's how the numbers work out. You get an expansion, your opponent goes straight for forces, they push out, they're going to have a stronger army than you. Luckily, with the sentry, with force fields, we're able to defend ourselves against this until he gets something like Thor's out massive units to crush it, or until he gets dropships. That's a much more probable point in the game. Until he gets those dropships, it's going to be very difficult for you, for him to push through that force field. So that's what you're going to rely on. You're going to rely on this force field to protect yourself early game against a Marine Marauder push. So be sure you have those sentries when you play Terran. Make sure you scout. If you see these 3 barracks coming, realize there's a push likely to be coming between the 7 and 9 minute mark. And in this game we saw that. It was so easy for him to take out our expansion. Now this is the point we're going to be trying to recover. We are in a good map for this, particularly in Delta Quadrant, that we were able to expand right over here inside of our main base. The reason we didn't expand here in the first place was because of those destructible rocks, going for that quick expansion rather than trying to spend the time to kill those destructible rocks. We see some more Marines and Marauders in the center of the map. Something to realize, however, again, he's not going to be able to push into our base until he gets dropships, so we're okay in having these sentries just hang out here. Getting this expansion up, gonna want to try to get some more economy. We do see over here that he's going for an expansion as well. Trying to attack that could be good, although it's going to be hard at this point. I mean, look at what we have for forces. It's going to be hard to push out of our base. Just a little too difficult. We don't have the access to dropships. We can't just drop a few units in the back of his base. But if you have any means of getting over there to trying to do some damage, it's strongly suggested, basically. So getting up this expansion right now. Also, you can see here we did have that Twilight Council go down and this Templar Archives. This is essentially what you want to do. If you see your opponent going really heavy Marine Marauder, you can expect some medevacs to be coupled with that. Getting High Templar is going to be a good response. It's going to be something that you're going to be able to do to counter his forces and to deal with this heavy MM ball. Now, obviously Storm, really effective. It's only effective, however, if they sit under it. So people wonder, how am I going to be able to do it? All he has to do is stim and move his units. Essentially what you want to do is blanket the ground. With your storms, you want to blanket it, and so that even if he tries to run away, there are storms wherever he moves. And that's going to be the goal, and we're going to see that in an upcoming fight. So just trying to continue to mass up units, also getting down additional gateways. Now that we have this expansion up and saturated, we can afford additional buildings again. You get an expansion, you can afford additional production buildings, you should be dropping them. Templar Archives is in and researching right now, trying to get that extra energy. Also going to be getting the Zealot Charge. So all really good transitions, all really good abilities to be getting. Now Medevac's finally coming into play. Some people may wonder why he doesn't have more Medevac's. Realize he went for that early 3 barracks build. that doesn't give you a factory or starport, so it doesn't allow you to have a lot of medevacs early in the game, and that's in particular why we're seeing a lot of Marines and Marauders and only 1 or 2 medevacs. Also, getting a drop up here on the high ground, that can be difficult to deal with. You just want to be able to get some vision and then get some Stalkers over there to deal with it. Realize, however, the Marauder is strong against the Stalker, so you're going to have to outnumber what he has for forces here. You can see we're trying to pick off what he has, but we are still worried if he does get his Marauders together. He can target fire down these Stalkers pretty fast, especially with the stim pack, so staying away for that stim pack, waiting for it to wear off, and then moving in. That's precisely what you want to do. Observers, really beneficial unit, allowing you to see where your opponent's army is at all times. Take advantage of that, you know, follow him around, make sure you know what he's doing, so that you can properly be prepared for it. We see that big Marine Marauder ball right here in the center of the map, streaming in reinforcements as well. But realize, here we go, pushing out High Templar. We're going to see exactly what I was talking about when I said blanketing your storm. You want to make it so that even when he runs away, he's got no place to go. You can see putting the storm in positions so that even as soon as he moves, he's just running into another storm. That is exactly what you want to do. Also, with those charge zealots, it's going to be really easy for you to catch up and take down those Marines and Marauders as well. So just pushing out against him, trying to do as much damage as possible. Your High Templar run out of energy, turn them into Archons. That's something that not a lot of players have been doing. Feedbacking on those dropships, that can be very effective as well. And at this point, you know, obviously absolutely devastated his army, trying to send in reinforcements, warp in whenever your warp gates are off cooldown, have them rallied straight to your opponent's base, and then you should be pretty much all set. Moving into his base right here, we can see how effective this push has been. Here we go, getting those Archons as well. I would suggest sending a couple units over here. We know he's expanded, so if you want to send some units over here, it's going to allow you to try to take out anything that he has over there. You know, stop his mining, stop whatever he's doing over there. Maybe he has some additional production buildings as well. We'd definitely like to check that at the very least. Back in his base, you can see the amount of damage we're doing. This push is just way too strong, and this is really a testament to how this matchup plays out. Generally speaking, you know, early game, Terran is very strong against Protoss, with Marines and Marauder pushes, like we saw again between that 7 to 9 minute mark, very effective. But once it starts to progress to late game and Protoss gets use of High Templar as well as Colossus, it's very hard for Terran to deal with. Obviously, likely responses that are going to be effective are going for Ghosts. Having some siege tanks could help a little bit. It helps keep Protoss at bay. We didn't see that from our particular Terran opponent in this game, but again, these are strong players. Kaz is a very good player, Mouse is a very good player. Not a lot of players do that, to be honest with you. Not a lot of players get Ghosts. It's not something you see nearly often enough, I would say. But yeah, very effective. High Templar, you can see how effective they are with blanket storming. You can see how much damage and how devastating it can be if used properly. So that's pretty much the end of this game. Just going to go over that build order real quick while things are wrapping up. There's really not much to talk about right here. Just pretty much mopping up everything that Kaz has at the moment. So Mana wins this game, obviously. Pretty clear victory. So what did we look at? You know, we went for that early expansion. We saw how devastating a Marine Marauder push could be against that. I think the key points to really focus on in this matchup were the fact that force fields are pretty much going to be your savior. It's going to be your lifeline in an early push in this matchup. It's going to be exactly what you need to save yourself from a push that is that strong, especially if you expand early. Again, realize expanding early makes you very vulnerable to early pushes. You dump resources into this, they have an army, you are very vulnerable at that point. Transitioning in the High Templar, very effective. It can be very devastating. You know, even though they have the option of stimming and running out of the storm, if you try to blanket if you try to blanket it and you try to make it so that even when they move they're running into more storms, it's still going to be effective and you're still going to do a good job. And again, that storm coupled with charged zealots, very devastating for a Marine Marauder medevac mix. So yeah, the build order, let's go over that real quick. We saw that 9 Pylon followed up with a 12 Gateway and 14 Assimilator. 18 Supply, we saw that Cybernetics Core. 19 Supply was the second Assimilator. 24 Supply getting Warp Gate Research. 30 Supply, Robotics Facility. 31 Supply was the second Gateway. And then 46 Supply, we saw that quick expansion, pushing off, or not really, but dealing with that Marine Marauder ball, losing the expansion, using the force fields to save us tech switching into High Templar are going to be very effective against Marine Marauder. Realize when you see Marine Marauder, you have a couple choices, High Templar and Colossus. That's basically what you're going to have to fall back to defeat it. So once again, guys, this has been Force from Force Strategy Gaming. If you guys like our videos and you like what we're doing here, please do go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Keep watching and keep owning, guys. Void Ray in one build or another, depending on what their race is that they're playing against. But then after that early game, maybe Void Ray push or kind of a Void Ray sneak attack, they tend to not go for them anymore. Mixing Void Rays into your army can be very effective. And we're going to see the effectiveness of that here. Another thing to realize too is it allows you to have the mobility of that air unit allows you to attack from multiple angles.